Congratulations. This has always been our traditional kind of round table, how we would wrap up this event with Leadership Matters that we used to do in Nashville. So the concept is the same, but again, a little bit different. If you saw on the Hoover app, you can text me questions, and if you don't want to ask questions, you can do that. But before we get underway with the round table, we do have some announcements to make, and it's my honor to introduce to you our National Sergeant at Arms, Steve James.
Thank you, Keith, and I'm going to ask you all to help me give a round of applause to Keith and all of our staff that put this conference on, because I think it's just an absolute honor. And Keith, thank you for all the work. And if you get a chance as you're going by, if any of our staff are still at that little registration area, never hurts to just give them a little thank you, because they worked their tails off for us. The first thing we wanted to kind of start with, we probably should have done this sooner. Pat did mention it in his leadership course. This is one of the greatest things we have, I think, in the FOP. The growth potential here is off the charts. If you scan that QR code, it's going to take you to the Amazon business link. And I don't feel comfortable sitting here, so I'm going to stand up a little bit. I'm going to walk in front of my buddy James. He'll push me. He just said it. He said he was going to push me. The way this works, there's only really, to me, one downside to this, and that is if you have Amazon Prime, which how many of you have Amazon Prime? How many of you think you have a shopping problem? Yeah, because Pat, I just asked how many people have a shopping problem. Patrick?
He's shopping right now.
Yeah, I just asked how many people have a shopping problem. You didn't raise your hand. You mind your business. I have the microphone, so you'll be quiet. All right, so Amazon has created a partnership with us. We are getting 3% back to our foundation on anything you spend at Amazon Business. So what's your first question? Oh, am I paying 3% more? The answer is no. You will never pay more than Amazon Prime, and you will often pay less using Amazon Business. There is no reason for us to not be using this. In our first year with Amazon Business, we brought in about $10,000 into the National FOP Foundation. In our second year, we brought in just shy of $70,000. We're on pace this year to bring in $130,000. And nobody has spent a penny more than they would have on Amazon Prime. In fact, in many, many cases, they've spent less. The two things that Amazon Business doesn't have, and a reason to keep your Amazon Prime, is they don't have music or video, the Amazon Prime TV. So if you enjoy those, you need to keep your Amazon Prime account. But you can do your shopping on the Amazon Business. How much does Amazon Business cost you?
It's free.
It's free! So please take this QR code, take a picture of the QR code, pass it amongst your members. You will never pay more than Amazon Prime. You will often pay less. And the foundation gets 3%. So we want all of you to sign up. Every single one of you, but what we really need is every single one of you to go back to your lodges and share this information. The only cap Amazon Business has is we can't get more than $1 million back. That's a good problem to have. So help us get to that $1 million. This alone could be enough money to help fund our entire National Peace Officers Memorial. All by itself, because Amazon's willing to partner with us. So I don't know if there's any questions on it. I'm happy to answer them. I think I started one thought. You do have to use a different email address than what you have associated with your Amazon Prime if you have Amazon Prime. But otherwise, you'll never pay more, you'll often pay less. There's actually other things available on Amazon Business that aren't available on Amazon Prime. We do actually have a police-related store for uniforms and other related items that you can't get on Amazon Prime, but you can get through Amazon Business. And the one thing they keep reminding us of, this is awesome for your lodges. Please use it for your lodges. You can use this for your own personal purchases, which is why we're going to reach 125,000. Pat Yoes has spent $275 million this year alone on Amazon Business, so we want to thank him for that. So if there's no questions, please use the QR code, take a picture of it, take it home. and help us make sure that if we get 130 this year, that we're about 250 next year and well on our way to that $1 million. Thank you guys.
Well, I've got to say, Steve's not kidding, because the switchover is so easy. It's unbelievable, because when we first got this, I already had an Amazon account, and I'm like, okay, this is going to be a hassle. I'm going to try to switch this thing over. And within like a matter of seconds, it was done. So we've been asked about when's the next event coming up next year. So that's up on the screen if you want to write that down for yourself, take a photo of it. February 20 through the 26th of 2027. That's a Monday through Friday. We may have events that go starting on Sunday for some of our wellness people, but the majority of the event will take place from the 20 to the 26th. And I guess some of the questions that have come up is from at least from the perspective of the National FOP and the board is what did we do right and what did we do wrong in this event? So I have gifts for people who want to participate. I've also got my phone up there. You can text a question if you're shy to stand up and ask. I've gotten a few texts already. Just out of this audience now, is there anyone that has a burning question? Anyone? You get a free prize if you raise your hand. All right, there you go.
My question actually comes from my local sheriff. He wanted me to ask you guys, what is your stance on the undermining of the U.S. Washington Constitution by the legislator and supported by the governor of Washington State regarding the SB 5974 bill that just was passed?
Can you hold the mic a little closer, because I was having trouble hearing. I think I know the question. I want to hear all of it.
So initially, my sheriff wants to know what your guys' stance is on the bill that was just passed against the sheriffs of Washington State.
I got to be honest with you. I need to know a little bit more about the bill in Washington State. It's obviously a state legislation, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'd be more than happy to dive into it. Honestly, just not.
Give us some context of what that is.
It just undermines the power of the sheriff, people voting in. They're saying it modernizes their ability to take a sheriff out of commission.
Look, yeah, so state constitutions are a strange thing. I'll just give you an example. Sheriffs, for the most part, across the country have a pretty defined job. In the state of Pennsylvania, it's a little bit different. The sheriffs have less powers. So that does lie in the purview of the state in order to be able to regulate their offices. I can just tell you what our official stance is, and I'll give you a perfect example. I don't know if you noticed or saw two things that we took a position on. One, there's a sheriff in Pennsylvania who attacked law enforcement, attacked ICE, but in essence attacked law enforcement, saying that we should not work together to support the functions of enforcing law. And we've taken a very strong position in it, and just recently we took one in Hennepin County where a city council member said that they should defund the Hennepin County sheriff from doing the job they had because of their cooperation with ICE. And what does that even look like? When you take away law enforcement roles, when you defund law enforcement? I mean, that might sound good, you might play to a base, but at the end of the day, it's reckless, and what it does is it devalues law enforcement, at least the opinion of law enforcement, or the impression of law enforcement across the country. That is a type of rhetoric that is causing our job to become less safe. So we've taken very strong positions that law enforcement needs to be fully funded, and needs to stop this rhetoric. We need to stop these bills that are introduced, these just for to stand on a political soapbox to make a statement. We have been through this whole defund law enforcement movement. It is nothing more than just a reckless experiment. And those places that did it have started to put things back in order because they know that it made no sense whatsoever. So while I don't know that particular legislation, our position is that we need to fully fund law enforcement. We have an important role. The quality of life we have within our communities is directly proportionate to the support that we have to law enforcement. So I'd be more than happy to look at that one more, just not for me.
Maybe you guys know the answer to this question, maybe you don't, but was that bill passed under the spirit of taking the power away from sheriffs to assist ICE?
Negative. It was, it basically takes the power out of the people's hands for the sheriff they voted for. It puts a state commission in charge of regulating sheriffs' time in law enforcement. Obviously, don't commit a crime, things of those nature, but the state board, the commission would look at all sheriffs voted and take away their jobs if they deem necessary.
Thank you.
Just a quick question. Sheriff is a constitutional officer in Washington State, correct? So it's embedded in the Constitution. So if the bill is to change the Constitution, so it would require a vote of the people. So it's just nothing more calling for a vote, correct? Statewide vote.
Very good, thank you. Another question out there. You get a free gift. Okay, coming your way, my friend, coming your way.
Harold Bird, Tribe, Nashville. I don't really have a question, I have more of a statement. I've been coming to these events for, I don't know, upwards of 10 years, and I know you had a lot to do with this, and this is by far, hands down, the way to go in the future. This is much, well, there was nothing wrong with Leadership Matters. This is a much better program. I appreciate everything you and your staff did to put this together.
Thank you so much, thank you.
Yeah, man, what Harold's saying is don't come back to Nashville because we had to do work when you were in Nashville.
Yes.
That's where that's at. You're welcome.
Okay, we have a question over here.
Tim Rice from Mount State Lodge. Just more of a suggestion, maybe for Keith. But with a lot of new lodges coming on board, especially in the New England area, I know in Vermont we're having an explosion ourselves. I would suggest maybe an online portal for training, kind of like what Police One does with the training academy for the different lodge positions, what they do, contacts with national. Because a lot of times we get these new lodges and the state lodge then has to drive to the lodge, do training on site, and there's just sometimes a little bit of a disconnect between what the roles are with these new folks. They have questions, and it would be nice to have like one central FOP academy for new lodges, different roles and what they can do and how they can connect and how they can be involved in the national things too, because a lot of times they're just a little timid and they don't want to ask, so it'd be nice to put it right in front of them.
Wow, that's a great question, and actually something we're working on. So this came up a while back about doing sort of like an advanced Leadership Matters for folks that maybe have been around for more than 5 years, right? And the concept was, let's do it over the internet, do it like a Zoom meeting, right? Doug, anybody that sat in on Doug Babcock's presentation on leadership, I think yesterday, I've been working with Doug now for about 6 months. We were waiting to get over this event to see where we wanted to go next with our internet-based, web-based kind of training portal. So you're very right on the money there, and you're right. Perhaps we need to look at new and young people coming on as well as those that have been around for a while. So thank you so much. Is there any other questions out there? Come on. Oh, here we go. All right, I'm coming your way.
Hi, Shirley Sonnenberg, Boise, the Treasure Valley Lodge in Idaho, where this was actually very much closer than where we've been before. As the treasurer, we talked a lot, James, when we went to your class about the audit and the review and that kind of thing. The thing that we struggle with in ours is if we were to ask, let's say, the trustee to do a review or an audit, they really don't know how to do that. So it would be nice if we could get maybe the trustees trained up on how to do that when we don't have the money to do a full audit ourselves.
Yeah, thank you for that comment. Just a quick show of hands. How many people in here are treasurers? All right, put your hands down. How many people are in here are secretaries? And how many in here are presidents? All right, so every single one of you that just raised your hand have a fiduciary responsibility to your lodge. And this is part of that responsibility. And certainly as a National League Board, we will take some of that responsibility in training our trustees, making sure they're carrying that water back. But it's important that you are involved in these reviews. Something that I taught in my class is the difference between audits and reviews. Generally, it's more in depth if you do an audit versus a review, but having a trustee or somebody designated by your constitution and bylaws to do regular, random reviews of expenditures and deposits to make sure that there's a second set of eyes at least at a minimum on your books is a good practice. So I will think about some ways that we can get that to our trustees and hopefully our national trustees can carry that back to their states and respectively spread the word. Of course, I'm happy to talk to anybody in your state or anybody in here that would like some additional help or resources in getting some of these things off the ground. Certainly, there are states across the country who are dealing with some issues where they would have benefited from having a second set of eyes on the books. Let's put it that way. And so, being proactive in these measures, it's not about hurting anybody's feelings or saying we don't trust anybody. It's about protecting our members, protecting our lodge, and protecting ourselves as fiduciaries. So, thank you for the question. I'll certainly give some consideration how we get that back.
Very good. Okay, so I've got this gentleman here, and then you'll be up next, my friend.
Before we take Glendale, Arizona, Lodge 12, I have more of a statement. I just want to thank you all for your leadership in terms of the messaging with regard to the attacks on ICE. You know, these people that would throw bricks and attack those ICE agents, make no mistake, these people would do the same thing to a local cop, and I just want to let you all know that I'm so proud to know that the FOP has taken a leadership role in that messaging to have the backs of our brothers and sisters in ICE. So I don't know if you have any comments on that, but thank you.
You know, this is what this event is all about, right? Hitting these current and upcoming trends that we're facing and discussing them and looking for solutions. So discussions like that are very appropriate at this event. And gentlemen over here, we got another question.
Good morning, Chris Brewer, South Carolina Midland Lodge 1. First, I want to say thank you to Rick, to the board for having chaplain training this week. First time in the 111-year history of the FOP. I have an idea of where Rick stands on it. Where does the board feel the chaplain training will be going from here out?
You know, when I started talking, did the welcome at the chaplain's portion of this, I made a comment, and I think it holds true, and why I think it's so important, why Rick and I had this, and the entire board, I had this discussion about the need of an untapped resource that we have always, I just never given enough attention to in the organization. And that's why you see the chaplain, so much effort put into the chaplain. Of course, you know, Rick is just such a dynamic person and, you know, one of us. So he, you know, very relatable to everybody in the room. But in a bigger picture, why this is important for, I think, for what we do. You know, we talk about officer wellness, we talk about taking care of our members. We also have to recognize that the challenges we deal with today, I got to tell you, I've been around a little bit. It is so much easier for what I did compared to the officers today. There's so much more that they're dealing with. I have personally lost a great deal of friends that the strongest of knees will buckle with the weight of the world. And I've lost a number of friends because of the stress of this job. We should never allow it to get to that point. And so I strongly feel, and I know the board does as well, that we need to empower our members with every single tool possible to ground them to deal with the challenges of this job. And when you're grounded in faith, that is a tremendous factor in the stresses of this job. So I can tell you without a doubt, I'm proud. I am just, you know, Rick and I had talked about this for a while of getting it. If, you know, it's the first time we were able to pull it off. You know, the question is man, do you do it in Sin City? And Rick says, we're going to take it over. We're going to conquer that place. So I appreciate that attitude with it. I personally, I think that this is an untapped resource that we should have been doing for years. And here it is, and it's now, and there's no turning back. And I see this growing exponential in time and influence, and the impact that it's going to have is just is important. And I'll let the rest of the board, I know we all feel very strongly about it.
Yeah, I'll add to that. And Rick, I'm going to talk a little bit about you, if you don't mind. I was talking about Rick in a good way to some folks who didn't know him the other day, and I said, you know, Rick was a phenomenal FOP leader, and then one day it was evident that Rick found Jesus, and he wanted everybody else in the world to find Jesus the way he did, and now he spreads the gospel more relentlessly in this law enforcement arena than anybody I've ever seen. And I can think of no better person to demonstrate how important it is to be grounded in faith. And for those of you that were at the conference in Vegas, you saw that firsthand when Rick experienced a devastating tragedy. And he grounded himself in faith, and he followed guidance from the Lord, and he came before the membership, and he found his strength not only in God, but in the brothers and sisters that were here to support him. And so I can think of no better person to be in this role. I can think of no better way to continue advancing this role, and I think this entire executive board stands behind Rick in the program that he is launching, and I look forward to seeing what comes in the future. There's no way that we will turn our backs on this, at least this executive board. We are 100% in lockstep with Rick, and we support everything he does. So, Rick, pretty soon you should probably get your collection plate out and pass it around.
Amen.
Tell you a little story. I called Rick one day. I said, Rick, I have a challenge, man, and maybe you can help me as a strong FOP leader and a man of faith. Help me understand how I should work through this issue. Let's just say I have a friend who drives across the country to come pray over a friend, okay, a member, and he gets back in a car and drives back across the country. So I'm concerned about their own well-being, because that's just not a healthy thing to do. So what would you tell somebody like that? Rick, what would you tell somebody like that? Rick, don't do that again. You get a hotel room, I'll pay the bill. But I often worry. You know, and Rick is an example, but I'll apply it to all chaplains as well. You know, you're picking up everybody else's weight. You're helping them, lifting them, you're helping them find, you know, some future in a very dark day. And I had a guy tell me something one time. I'd love to say that this is my quote, but it's not. So I got to give credit. It's a member out of Utah that came up with it, but he said that it is very difficult to defend humanity without losing a little of your own. Just let that one sink in a little bit. So here we are. You know, when somebody calls me and they're struggling, I'll call Rick. And what does Rick do? Rick calls them, but who's carrying the weight? You know, I often worry about Rick and the Ricks out there, but what we're asking you to do, and your own well-being. So don't drive across the country. don't turn around and come right back. Not that it's not appreciated, not that it didn't make it just tremendous amount of difference to the family, knowing the struggles they were having with. But let's take care of yourself as well. Rick, thank you for all you do.
Yeah, man. Yes.
And get a room.
Rick, is there anything you'd like to add?
Just on that point, that's the value in doing the chaplains conference, right? We have this vast network of chaplains across the country now, which we're fully leveraging and utilizing. And I used to always ask that question too: who does the chaplain call when they need a chaplain? The beauty is you have great fellow chaplains. I have my chaplains. My father's in the faith, and it's also the power of prayer and setting our buckets down at the foot of the cross. So we'll stay at it. We'll keep plowing ground. And I'm just grateful to the board's support and also all those chaplains from all over the country that came this week. It was just a powerful 2 days, and I know it's going to continue to grow and spread and allow us to be there for all of our sisters and brothers. So thank you for that, and Pat, thanks for all your support.
Rick, keep the mic for just a second, because I have a kind of a question for you. How many lodges in here have a chaplain on your local or state lodge? Okay, so the vast majority of you raised your hands, but some of you did not. And Rick, my question for you leading into my comment is, I think there's a little bit of a, stigma is a bad word, but to be a chaplain, I have to have some sort of faith-based background or be a pastor or have been a pastor. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we actually had a discussion through the conference this week because we had such a wide array of backgrounds, experiences, exposures to things. And that's one of the great things that we can do in the FOP. And I think there's a key role, a key thought for us to have, which is we need both. We need a hybrid of lay chaplains who are not ordained, don't have that ministerial background, but have the love for their sister and brother and can walk alongside folks and definitely provide that ministry of presence. But there's also the need for, and this is what we encourage, have your board chaplain position. That's that fellow cop, just like you, maybe that you described there. But then also keep in mind to have a chaplain for pastoral care at your disposal as well. And that can be that trusted pastor, faith leader in your community that has already built the relationships with law enforcement to where they have that trust factor. Not somebody that's just coming in a silk suit to be in front of the cameras and all that stuff. Throw that junk to the side. But when you identify that person, as you know, like for us as Chris Holland, then as the president or the leader of the lodge, you have that at your disposal of what's going to be the best fit. There's going to be some members that don't want the pastor talking to them. They want the fellow officer that's that chaplain, or vice versa. And then you have pieces of the puzzle that you can play whenever you need to. So that's what we're going to continue flushing out and in that network. And so right now, I hope what people see or have experienced is when you have a major event happen in your neck of the woods in the country, hopefully in relatively short order, you're hearing directly from me or one of our chaplains, and we're drilling all the way down to that local level just to make sure they have the support that they need, and we'll continue to do that.
To my point, if you don't have a chaplain position on your lodge, or you have a position and it's sometimes hard to fill those positions, really what you need to focus on is finding that person in your lodge who loves taking care of people. That's really what that chaplain position can be about. And we all as cops and involved in the FOP, we get busy. And so there's going to be those members in your lodge, sick, distressed, and injured, going through hard times or whatever. That chaplain position can be responsible to keep a finger on the pulse of the members, find out who's in need, find out who's going through something, and reach out to them on behalf of your board. And I have to tell you from personal experience, and all of us up here have experienced it, it means something. If your member even has a sick family member, and on behalf of your board, on behalf of your lodge, someone is reaching out to them and saying, we care about your brother or sister, what can we do for you? And to have a person dedicated to doing that, your members will go to war for you when the time comes, and they will return that blessing to somebody else because the lodge did it for them. My local lodge president, Jen Hines, it's the whole reason she's involved in the FOP. When she came to our agency, she was going through a hard time, and our president at the time stepped up and helped her through a rough time, and so did the lodge. And now she's been on our board trapped for 20 years, so thank you. But that is how that works and the benefit of it. Appreciate it.
Okay, I've got a question over here, and then we'll go to you. All right, here you go, sir.
Hi, Kevin High, California Law Firm. I think Jimmy's been neglected so far, so my question is for him. Could you go over the status of possibly going to FOP cards and what that kind of cost savings would be to our organization?
Absolutely. The question, if you didn't hear, was digital membership cards. Let me just throw this out. How many of you would like to see a digital membership card? Currently, and I did an analysis probably 4 years ago, At that time, when postage wasn't as expensive as it is today, it cost about $200,000 a year just to do the plastic cards. It's very labor intensive. When we do that, we have the mechanism right now to do just exactly that. It would be an electronic card that would come to your phone with a QR code on it. One of the greatest advantages with that is at the local lodge level or state level, even at the national level, we can use secure card readers to scan in. Many of you probably, like my lodge, require a prerequisite number of meetings to run for delegate or run for lodge office. What we do right now is you sign a book, and then at the end of the year, when elections are coming up, either staff or the secretary or the conductor is in there figuring out. We can eliminate all of that. I know that some of our senior members want to have that actual hard copy card, so we'll work through that as well. We may ease into it by doing one last run or a couple of last runs, if you will, on the hard copy card, but then transform into the digital format. Look, many of us belong to other organizations that have used digital cards for years. So I think it's the way of the future, and it would be more expedient, and it'll be less expensive on you at the local level in distributing those cards. So, yes, sir. We're moving in that direction. Thank you for the question.
Very good. We have a question right here, brother.
Thank you. Jeff Harris, Colorado Lodge 1. If I could go down the line, please, and just ask for one principle or one tenant that helped you all make or be successful in positions in your local lodges.
That's a great question. Words of wisdom from the
One
board.
principle or tenet that helps us be successful in our local lodges, was that the question?
And leaders in your local lodges.
I actually love this question. Thank you for asking it. And for me, the number one thing when I got involved almost 30 years ago, tell the members the truth and let the members make decisions with the information they need to make the decisions. Trust that if you give the members the right information, they will make the right decisions. I took over at my local lodge at a time where we had a president that didn't have time for younger members, didn't have time to do certain things for the membership that he didn't think was important. And what I found was when I took over, if we just gave the members the information they needed, whether that was presenting a contract, whether that was asking for a dues increase, whether that was a member in aid type situation, if you give the members the information that you have, trust them that they will make the right decision.
Thanks for giving me some time to think, Steve.
You're welcome.
So, something I used to tell my local lodge vice president all the time, I don't know if he's in the room, I think he may have had to catch a call or something, but it's a two-part answer. In order to be successful in any role in the FOP, in a leadership role in the FOPs, but especially at the local level, you have to develop meaningful relationships. Relationships will open doors for you and your lodge that you never thought you would achieve. But also, when developing those relationships, you have to do so responsibly. And understanding the outcome of the decisions that you make, having an intentional pursuit of that decision and outcome is important. Because we all know that our members want what? They want us to walk into the chief's office and punch them in the throat because they didn't like what the chief did on Tuesday. But then they also expect us to walk into the chief's office on Wednesday and get the job done. And as leaders, we have to recognize that there's a delicate balance. Yes, we are responsible for holding leadership accountable when they make mistakes. And we are also responsible for having a strong and intentional relationship with that leadership so that they can trust us when we come in the door and say, you really don't want to do this. First, they can trust that we're going to react responsibly and professionally. But second, they can trust that the information we're giving them, much like what Steve just said, is accurate, truthful, and responsible. For me, as a leader in the local, state, and in the national level, that's always done well for me. I've built strong, healthy relationships with everybody that I work with, at least I've tried to, and that's given me a lot of mileage. And I've also been very intentional about holding folks responsible. But when I do, they know James Smallwood is legitimate, the concerns that he brings forward are truthful, and his reactions will be balanced against some level of professionalism, and that's always done well for me.
Brother, I hope you read my article in this month's Journal edition, because that's basically what I addressed, was leadership, coming off the heels of this wonderful week of training that we have. My definition, simple definition of leadership, what's always worked for me, is getting someone to do something with you or for you that they don't really want to do, but they're doing it for you because they believe in you. You've built that cooperation, that trust. You know, in our lodges, you have elected leaders and you have implied leaders. We all have the implied leaders that are sitting in the audience that people gravitate to, that they follow whatever that lead is because they trust them. Now, from a technical standpoint, as your secretary, I would say what's extremely important is for you to know and understand your Constitution and bylaws. I find that as a major problem from time to time when a local lodge leader or even a state lodge leader, I'll ask them, well, what does your Constitution and bylaws say about something? And they'll go, well, I don't really know. Or what does your state's Constitution and bylaws say? So to me, what's paramount is understand the rules of the order. That's the working tools that you have. Another suggestion that I would give you, I've done it at the local level, the state level, and at the national level, is I go back and read minutes. I mean, I don't read the whole entire, but I hit on hot topics, because what you will probably find, the same as I have, is the players change, but the issues generally don't. They reoccur over and over and over. And you can learn from how those former leaders handled those particular situations. What worked for them may not work for you, but it allows you to sort of kind of gauge yourself and already be ready for those things when they do come up.
Well, it's hard for me to put it in one word, but first of all, and this plays into what I'm going to say, Jeff, I've known you a lot of years, man, and I didn't know you were this deep, so, you know. No. But this is going to play into my one tenet or word, and it's passion. You're a perfect example of why I get excited about the FOP, brother. When I met you, you were out on Eastern Plains, Colorado. You were interested in the FOP. You were a board member. You invited me out for a crazy event out there where we ate some crazy viral chocolate that was on the internet that almost killed me. And just to watch you evolve to now, just so you guys know, as of a couple months ago, Jeff is now the president of one of the largest lodges in Colorado and doing quite well. And that, to me, is really at the heart of the FOP and the passion that I have that's grown in me over the years and continues to fire. And I will say this to your question, those of you who are local lodge leaders in here, and I can say this from experience, local, state, national experience, being a local lodge leader is by far the hardest job in the FOP. by far, because your members want something out of you. They want something out of you now. They want you to put out the fire now, and your phone is nonstop. I mean, I can tell you that from experience. But for me, that one thing is the passion, and it's watching folks like you come up to the FOP and get that passion. And I'll share this with you guys, where that all kind of came to fruition for me, and I want to share this with you because it really tends to lend towards what the FOP is all about. I got involved in the FOP 30 years ago at my very first agency because a sergeant drugged me to a meeting. One of those old school sergeants was like, hey, you know, he's from, he was 30 years on at Philly PD, had retired to Colorado, went to work for our agency because he was bored, and literally one night said, hey, maybe at the PD at 6 o'clock, we're going to a meeting. I had no idea what he was taking me to. Well, he was dragging me to the lodge meeting to sign me up as FOP. That's how I became involved. And then over the years, I kept seeing, very shortly after that, I was involved in the critical incident. The FOP was there for me. I saw what they did for me. I saw what they were doing for others. But I will tell you, man, coming from a family where most of the time my mom was a single mom, struggled, you guys all met her in Miami when my mom came to conference, and to go from that and then just decide to be a cop, get involved in the FOP, I will tell you it was a very surreal moment for me. And I share this with you because every one of you in those seats can experience this. It just depends on how far you want to go, and listening to the members around you encourage you. I had some great mentors along the way. I would encourage each of you as local lodge leaders, if you're sitting in that seat as a local lodge leader and you have this passion, you need to be thinking, who am I preparing to take my position? From day one when you raise your hand, who's the next one behind me? But I will never forget the first time that we went to the White House to meet with President Trump. And just the way it worked out, we were all meeting in a boardroom, the Roosevelt Room, I think it was. And kind of on a whim, he said, hey, why don't you guys come over to the Oval Office? Once I got my breath, because that was unexpected, I remember walking behind the President of the United States, and as you go into the Oval Office, it's lit like a stadium in there because they do all the pictures in there. And as the President of the United States is walking in front of me, all I can see is his silhouette in this dark hallway. We're going through this hallway into the Oval Office. And I couldn't help but get overwhelmed, and I thought, what in the hell has happened, Rob? What have you done to go from being raised in a single mom struggling in the trailer park? You are meeting with the President of the United States in the Oval Office. None of that happens, brothers and sisters, without the FOP. And that's a personal experience that I had. And it was a very surreal moment. I have no problems telling you I was shedding tears walking in the Oval Office of the President of the United States. But each one of you can be that person. And if that doesn't give you passion, if that doesn't give you passion to do that for you and to bring up the next brother or sister behind you, I don't know what can. And so the one tenet for me is passion. There is no greater, worthier cause than advocating for the men and women that protect this country, whether it's a local, state, national level. You are doing God's work, and I appreciate that, and that's where I'm at with what the tenet is for me.
Thank you, Rob. You know, I'm sitting here. The reason why I didn't grab the mic at first is because I needed to reflect on this, because there are so many things that I want to say. But I'm going to center back to one of them. And that is that at the end of the day, I got to tell you, people ask me, man, how do you keep this pace? How do you do all this? How do you try? Man, I'm driven by all of you. It's the relationships that are made. It's the people. You draw my energy from each of you. So for me, I'm going to tell you, if you want one tenet, I'm going to give you one tenet, but I'm going to tie a couple other things to it. It's about the relationships along the way. Never forget that what we do, everything we do, there are people involved. There are real people involved.
and they're looking for us for a brighter day. They're looking for us for some leadership. I'll just give you mine, you know, and I think this, I'm gonna say something, and I think most of you in this room will do it. We'll probably agree. You know, I've been around a minute, and, you know, I became a local lodge president, could care less about the state and the national, really didn't know what they were, it had nothing to do with them. But at my local lodge level, you know, I've worked through the ranks and became president, and I'll be the first one to tell you that I was doing it because it was kind of cool. I'm the president of the lodge. You know, when I started, we had about 250 members. By the time I moved on to, you know, became national, moved off to, you know, president, because I was president for a number of terms. We were 500-600 members, so it became a, you know, mid-sized lodge too. Normal, you know, pretty decent-sized lodge. But I'll be the first one to tell you that my first days of PATH were kind of, yeah, oh, that sounds good. Let's do this. Or how about this? Well, you know, oh man, let me tell you that one time we really did something good, never realizing that there had to be a bigger picture here. So I'm going to add a few things to it. I'm going to say one, you know, I'm going to add two to it. There's so much I could say about this one, but never forget we're dealing with people here. They're looking for you for something. They're looking for some leadership. They put you in that position for a reason. What are you going to do with it? So the two things I'll tell you to take with it is one is try to approach everything with the end in mind. Where is it that you want to be? You know, for me, when I first started, it was, oh, hey, what else? Oh, here's an opportunity. Let's see what we can do. Oh, this sounds good. Let's do this. But when we actually sat back and said, okay, we need to stop looking at where our opportunities are and let's start making them. You got to be proactive. If all you're doing is reacting, you know, that's what's expected. They expect us to react. Look at the way we can shape the future of our profession. And when we started looking that way and started looking 5, 10, 15, 20 years where we want to be as an organization, man, there's some clarity in doing that. And then the last thing I'll add with that is that I don't care what you think your job is as a leader in this organization. You can be the best leader in the world. You can kick ass. You can make your lodge. You can put it on a pedestal. People say, man, that's awesome. But man, if it falls apart when you left, that's on you. Our job is to create force multipliers. You have to have a whole team of leaders that are behind you that man, if it's dependent on one person, it is broken. So those two things, it's all about relationships. Think of what you want to be, where you want to be, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want your lodge to be when it grows up? And stop reacting to things and start designing the future for your members, a better future. Because if you set the pace, others are going to follow. If they believe in what you're doing, it's going to happen. But always go back to the fact that, man, we're talking people here. Time is not something we get back. Every single one of you came here. You came here because you gave up your time away from your families. A lot of places you could do that, you know, probably, you know, would be great. But you're here. And last thing I want to do is waste your time. I want us all to walk out of here with the energy and knowing that we're going to make a difference with it. And I think every one of us in our local lodges should approach it the same exact way. Your time is important. Let's make the best of it. Let's shape the future rather than react to everything with one thing in mind. It's all about the relationships we build around.
Boy, that was pretty awesome.
Since the president stole my word, I'd like to add a new word. I'm just kidding. Obviously, I learned that from my mentor, President Yoes. But one thing that I do want to add, every single one of us gave you a tenet, and I think there's an underlying current that links it together. It's a healthy dose of humility. Remember your roots, remember where you came from, be humble. Because it's not about you, it's about the folks you represent and the department that you work with. So, a healthy dose of humility.
Okay, I'm in the back of the room now a little bit here. Who's got a question? Who's up next? Did I see a hand raised? Huh? Back here? No? I can do, let me do a text. We got a text question. Are there any updates about FOP efforts in lobbying to get peace officers the benefit of dollar-down mortgages? I will admit that I have not kept up with the legislation efforts to do so.
Yes, there is actually a bill in Congress, and it's actually brilliant if we could just get traction with it. So you have VA loans. If you serve in the military, you get there's a certain program that allows you to purchase your home with extra benefits. The same exact thing. There is a bill before Congress to
extend that to public safety. And I think it would be a tremendous, we have a recruiting problem in this country. There's no question. No newsflash here. It has gotten a little bit better, but look, the reality is it's not something. It's generational. We're going to have to go a tremendous amount of time before we're ever going to backfill the problems that we had during a period of time when people were walking away from our profession because they didn't feel like they were appreciated. Here's one more tool that I think makes my job more appealing, attracts people in. The legislation, the problem is in Washington, I know this is not a shocker, but I've never seen a more dysfunctional family in my life than the United States Congress. So trying to get things passed right now. I will tell you this, look, straight up, take the politics out of it, I'll tell you I'm a conservative Republican. And I can tell you in the position I'm at, it requires me to be a little bit more than that, because it doesn't matter who's in power. My job is to make sure this organization is efficient, effective, and impactful, and meaningful. And the only way you can do that, and I'll just tell you straight up, the only way we can approach this, and we got to look at it. Look, we tend to wear our politics on our sleeves. You got to recognize, man, there's nothing in this country. Look at meaningful legislation that has happened. There's nothing in this country that hasn't happened without a bipartisan approach. So if you got one party that says they're going to make it happen, then you're going to have years after trying to find a way to undo it. And that's just the reality of it. So I'm hopeful that at some point we can gain traction. Unfortunately, the environment that exists now, while we've moved past this whole defund law enforcement, which is a failed experiment that caused a lot of damage to this country, it has just transformed into, and many of them, it's the same exact people that were against us before and now focusing their energy on ICE. And as long as you still have that law enforcement perspective, role where we're going to attack law enforcement, it is hard to get Congress to agree to do anything because they're focused on one thing, and that is to destroy. And I'm going to give you a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Walked in and talked about, 2,500 officers have been shot in 8 years? 8 years. That type of violence, you show me another profession that has that much violence towards them, and you tell me if Congress tried to pass a law for violence towards reporters. How many reporters lost their jobs? You have any idea? You have any idea how many reporters have been attacked because of their position of being a reporter that were killed the year they introduced that bill? It was 0. You know how many? I did another one for poll watchers about violence towards poll watchers. You know how many poll watchers lost their lives? 0. You know how many law enforcement officers lost their lives? A whole bunch. I had the opportunity to testify before a Homeland Security Committee back in December, and I told them, I stopped, I said, this is disheartening. It really is. I'm showing you real numbers of law enforcement officers that are being attacked simply because of the uniform they wear, and half the room wanted to talk about the issue, and I appreciate, they really do, I appreciate it. The other half of the room wanted to blame Donald Trump. And I had to stop them at some point and said, this is disappointing. This problem is not political. It's Republicans and Democrats that are being attacked here. Put that aside. We all own the responsibility of fixing it. Yet we got nowhere with it. I'm giving you real empirical data to show a problem when we can't get Congress to do it. So when we talk about things that are going to enhance law enforcement, man, it's just, I would love to tell you it's just common sense and you think they do it, but we're dealing with a dysfunctional family. At some point, we need to recognize that we've done a whole lot of damage to this country with this division, and we need to pull it back together. I will tell you that it is a priority of the FOP. We are on record of supporting the bill and hope that at some point we can get some traction with it.
President Yoes, I believe the bill that you're speaking to is the Helper Act, correct? Yeah, so for whoever asked that question, one of the many national legislative priorities is the Helper Act, and it does exactly what you're asking about. But I would like to supplement President Yoes' comment with a couple of things. First, how many in here, by show of hands, and if you don't know, please show, because that helps us understand we're missing a connection. How many of you know what voter voice is? Okay, so we as an executive board need to do a better job. And you're here in the room listening. Voter voice is an FOP connection for you to be able to message our congressional leadership about our priorities and make sure that they're aware that you as their constituents want them to vote or support our key legislation. Helper Act is one of the things on voter voice where you can literally go on, type your information in. It's a 45-second process once you've signed up for voter voice, and tell your legislature or your specific legislator that you want them to support the bill or advance the bill, whatever it is in the process, what stage it's in. So you can go to FOP.net under our legislative tab. There's a connection there for you to sign up for voter voice. And I'm telling you, it probably takes 5 minutes to get signed up to voter voice. Once you're signed up, it takes 45 seconds to find the legislation that you want advanced, and then send an email and connect with your legislator to make sure that they get a message from you. Because guess what? We can go into the legislator's office all day long, but for many of those folks, we can't vote for them. You can though, and that's who they care about. They want to know they're going to win their next election, and if they don't start feeling a pinch from the people who vote for them, they're not going to move. So I encourage you, please use that. The other side of this, and some of you have heard me speak to this ad nauseum, but I'm going to continue speaking to it because it's important. Money is the mother's milk of politics. Whether you believe it or not, it's the truth. And I gave this speech one time at a conference, and the guy that did their legislative business walked up right behind me and said, we shouldn't have to pay our politicians to do the right thing. And if that brother's in the room, I agree, we shouldn't, but the reality is we do. Yeah, money is the mother's milk of politics. It's how we get business done. And if you want to see our key legislative priorities get across the finish line in a more efficient manner, you really got to participate in the PAC. When I took over as treasurer, we had about $28,000 in the PAC, and we've been messaging and pushing hard. And I'm proud to say that we've exceeded $100,000 now, but comparably, it's pretty abysmal. When you look at what the hose draggers across the aisle are doing, they've got 2 PACs that are multiple millions of dollars, and we're over here with $100,000. If you want us in the fight, and I got to tell you, brothers and sisters, our legislative team in Washington, D.C. does business like none other, and it's because of what I said earlier. They have developed strong and meaningful relationships. If they didn't have those relationships, we would be dead in the water, but because of the relationships we have developed in the legislative office, we have found some success, like the Social Security windfall provision bill, but it took us 40 years to get it done. And in order to be more efficient, more effective, get that stuff done faster, it really requires your participation, first in communication. When we knew that we were getting close on windfall elimination provision, we sent out a mass email to everybody, said we need you to contact your legislator. And folks in the room here did, folks across the country did, and it made a difference because they started feeling the pinch from the people that could vote for them. But then also we have to be able to support our efforts with legislative money, with PAC funds, and that's where I really want to impress upon you, please. Go to our website, engage in the automatic recurring donation. I give $15 a month. If everybody in the FOP gave $1 a month, we would be leaps and bounds ahead of where we are right now. So I'm not going to beat it to death, but I think those are 2 really important things I want you to walk away with.
All right, I want to add something to that too. It's just to point out what the strength of what James just said. You know, during the Social Security windfall elimination in the Senate, I had a senator call and said, please, 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 make it stop. All right, I get it. You made it very clear. Your members made it very clear what I need to do. You've got my support. So don't think for 1 second that reaching out and making it very clear where you stand does not have an impact. All right, but I'll also tell you one more thing that we need to do, and this is difficult. Look, I get it. I know who our members are. Our members are conservative by nature with democratic needs. That's maybe changed a little bit with the landscape that exists. But the reality is that our members wear their politics on their sleeve. They truly do. And a comment was made earlier, and I couldn't agree more. You know, I know what our members want. They want me to stand on top of the desk and punch people in the throat. But if you don't have a bigger plan of where you want to go, what the end game is, all you can get is a hurt hand. You're not going to accomplish what you want. So I say that because when we support candidates who openly, flat out refuse to support the things that are important to us, there has to be consequences for that. And I'll use Social Security as a perfect example of that. You know, something that's just so patently unfair for public employees. Yet we still have members that in the Senate and the House that say you got more than you deserve, or this should have never happened, or I'm against it. And really, I mean, no respect whatsoever for what our position is and recognizing the damage they did to us. Yet we still have lodges that will endorse them because of the political party they're behind. You got to stop doing that. You know, if you don't want to endorse their opponent, that's fine because of political reasons. But you don't don't give them that endorsement unless they've earned it. I'll give you a real good example. You know, I had a senator, a representative said, you're not going to do that. I'm not going to support it. It will never pass. Absolutely not. It's done. And I had the opportunity to go meet with him after and said, you know, look, disappointed. I'm not a sore winner. We were able to pass it. Disappointed you weren't with us. I'm disappointed you didn't understand what was important to our members. What's important now is we've got to figure out a path to move forward. And we need to find some ways for you to work with us so we can then win back the support of our members. Use this as a positive. You don't have to turn it into a negative, but don't endorse people that do not do it, that flat out just completely fly in your face and tell you how they're not going to support you. It means nothing if you turn right around and give them an endorsement.
We have another text question. Is there a list of committees at the national level that need help and could use members to step up and assist? And you've already mentioned some of it with the PAC, right?
Well, you know, we do. We have a list of committees. You know, look, the power of the FOP. You know, the Constitution says that it's appointed. The majority is appointed by the president. The minority is appointed by the vice president, and it's the vice and consent of the board of trustees. So we're right in the middle of that process. Joe Grimaldi and I got together. We came up with a list. There's about 450 people that serve on national committees, and the end of this month, the board will vote to ratify what our position is or make whatever changes. That's their purview to do that. The beauty of that is what we're doing is we're pulling all of the resources in a different review, different perspectives all of you have in order for us to move our mission. Each committee has a mission. They have goals that they're supposed to accomplish during that time, and they meet through Zoom meetings and so forth. We have probably 30 some odd committees, about 450, 400 people are on those committees. But there's always looking for ways for people to be involved in it. You know, I talked about that force multiplier. We're all part of this journey. Never forget that we're all taking a journey, and it's a journey we all take together. The more people you have seeing the vision of where we're going, the stronger our vision. So is there a way? I would first suggest that starting off with the state lodge, reaching out to the state lodge, wanting to be part of those initiatives, because that's kind of our breeding ground. We get recommendations from leadership on who to put on these committees, and just know that every journey starts with a single step. So you know, if you want to be involved and you have the passion for something, then find a way to work your way into it through state, and it'll trickle on up to the national as well. Anyone else want to add to that?
We have another text question here. Has there ever been discussion about exempting law enforcement pensions from taxes at the national level? A lot of states exempt them, at least in some form, but a national exemption would help a lot of officers in their retirements.
I'll take that one. So look, it's great. It's awesome. It's awesome. Yeah, you want to help with recruiting? Let's go ahead and free up the pensions. Now there's a reason for you to focus on, hey man, I'm going to become public safety, because at the end of my career of public safety, at least I get a little benefit from not having to pay taxes on it. And a lot of states have done that. And I'm willing to go back, I'm willing to suggest that if you go back and look at your states, they didn't just exempt public safety. They exempted other public employees as well, teachers and so forth. So anytime you do a federal legislation, here's our problem in Washington. You know, there's a number of factors. One is when you say, hey, let's go ahead and exempt law enforcement because we have a recruiting problem. Well, then you've got the Me Too's. The firefighters are saying the same thing, the teachers are saying the same thing, and it's a ripple effect. So what you have is, in order to pass something, you got to build a consensus. You got to build an army. Well, we're not building an army when we say it's a law enforcement issue. I can't pass. It's hard for me to pass. Well, it's hard for anyone to pass a legislation unless you've got some kind of broad base and people working with you. When you got groups that are behind you saying it's either me too or I'm against it, you can see where the challenge comes in. Have there been discussions about trying to do that? Yeah, absolutely. Is it an easy lift? It's not. I use Social Security again as an example with that. It affected all these classes of employees, of public employees, so they all had a vested interest. All right? It gave us a little bit bigger pool of numbers to be able to pull this off. Now you're taking a much smaller pool of number, and others saying you can't give it to them and should give it to us. You can see the dynamics of why it's difficult to get legislation like that passed. So have there been discussions? Have there been things that have been filed that suggest that? Yes. Is it easy? It's not. You just got to look at the cause and effect of other groups as well. Would love to see that happen, but I'm also a realist too. I'm not going to stand up here and tell you we're on it. I'm going to tell you that yes, we're on it, but you know, it's all, for me, it's all about managing expectations too.
We have another text question. This is rather lengthy, so I'll do my best. Are we actively lobbying to fairly apply the no tax on overtime provisions that were granted in the One Big Beautiful Bill? The current legislation only extends those benefits to FLSA mandated overtime. FLSA only mandates overtime after working 171 hours in a 28-day cycle, when most officers are scheduled 160 hours during a 28-day cycle. The first 11 hours of overtime that is being worked during each 28-day cycle doesn't qualify for the tax break. I've been living with FLSA my whole life. It's a mess.
I'm trying not to dominate the thing. I've had it, Mike, so get it away from me. Let everybody else have an opportunity to speak. But then you saw what happened. They all went this way. So, no. What's that? Go for it.
So I think President Trump made a great promise when he was running for president, but he didn't realize the impact and minutia that will be required in the law. And fair labor standards have to be what it is. If any of you have led your lodges in negotiations, you understand that that is a gigantic elephant, and you have to eat that one bite at a time to try and make any change. I can tell you from the national perspective, I, President Yoes, everybody on the board have had this discussion about the need to look at FLSA and find meaningful revisions. One of those being the 28-day cycle. I know for me and my agency, that has been the bane of our existence. When we negotiate, it always comes back to bite us. So certainly we are aware, and we would love to make meaningful revisions, but much like anything else, that takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, and it's not that we're not putting that effort in, but you know, President Yost mentioned this, managing the expectations of members. It's probably another one I would have added to your list, brother, about what has helped me be successful. We all need to have realistic expectations. We are working on it. We are communicating with the folks in Washington about how it's not really fair. I know in my department, while lieutenants are required to work overtime, we are excluded from the no tax on overtime provision based on FLSA. And nobody thought about that when they implemented the rule. And we tried to challenge it legally, and we found, well, I say we, the leadership of my local lodge, tried to challenge it legally, and they found out that it was legal under FLSA. So there are a lot of provisions that are prohibitive for us as public safety or as law enforcement officers that we're going to continue to work to try to apply more fairly to us as employees.
Let me just add on that also, those provision, that particular provision is called the 7K provision in the FSLA. That was implemented back in, I think, 1983, 84, when they did a major revision. My suggestion, based on exactly what James was talking about, is for those of you that are working or have the 171 in a 28-day work cycle, and then that 11 hours that they screw you over on during that time period, I would suggest, if you're able, if you have a collective bargaining agreement, tighten it up in the collective bargaining agreement that the overtime is paid in anything in excess of that particular shift. Am I not right, Rick? That's exactly what I was able to do years ago, so that our people did in fact get the benefit of the overtime versus having to go beyond the 171 hours.
Okay, I've got several more questions here. However, we've got about 15 more minutes left. So again, in the audience here, would anyone like a little gift? Raise your hand, and ask a question? If not, I will continue on. Any questions? Okay, well, here's a good one. Where do you see the biggest challenges facing law enforcement over the next 3 to 5 years?
Retention. My buddy here says recruitment, and my response to that is we don't have a recruitment problem.
Have another one.
If we fix the retention problem. Those of you guys on the streets know exactly what I'm talking about. I think retaining our best and brightest candidates in our law enforcement halls is going to continue to be a crisis as we see legislators attack law enforcement, as we see society continue to devolve away from something that follows the rule of law, that believes that law and order is important, and retaining those good law enforcement officers and that experience is invaluable to our profession and to our individual departments. I think that's going to be a big deal for us in the next 3 to 5 years, as it has been for the last 3 to 5 years.
In that same regard, and Brother Smallwood talked about it earlier with voter voice, we need you to get on there and as it applies to what the challenges will be in the next 3 to 5 years. One of our legislative priorities is Protect and Serve Act. And right now that is being held up in the House, I believe, by a couple of goofballs. If you don't know about that Protect and Serve Act, it is law that will help. It will help hold those accountable that attack law enforcement for no other reason than attacking us for our jobs. Those amplified killings that President Yoes has been talking about throughout the week. And we're going to have a harder time with that retention and that recruitment if we don't put pressure on our legislators to put laws in place that protect us. Everybody in this room took this job because you were called to do it, and you continue to do this job because you're called to do it. But that's happening less and less when young folks across our country are watching the violent attacks on law enforcement. Who could blame them? Who could blame them when they look at our job? They're like, yeah, I think I'll go to the other side of the hall to the fire academy. I'll go do that. So I agree with what James said, but part of that is that we need to hold these legislators accountable to, number one, stop the rhetoric against law enforcement, and two, do their freaking jobs and step up and protect us.
Yeah, I'm gonna double down that retention is important, but I'm gonna ask a question and just be very interested to see by a show of hands. How many of you right now, if you had a 20 to 25-year-old child, would recommend that they look at law enforcement as a career? Raise your hand if you would recommend to them to do that. Yeah, there's a few hands. I can tell you 30 years ago, 90% of the hands in this room would have been up. I have a 25-year-old son who's in the application process right now, and he's applying to be a police officer, despite the fact, I would not say this publicly, and I hope nobody puts this out on video, but I encouraged him to drive the red truck because they don't have the same problems that we do in the media and with society. They aren't normally getting bricks thrown at them, being spat at, and being expected to act like they didn't get spat at. You know, there's a difference today. Somebody gets spat at today, there's one way to handle it. When I, 35 years ago, was right out of the academy, what did you say? You don't like that word? All right. If people were in my face flipping me off 35 years ago, we handled it differently than they have to handle it today. We'll just say that. So I didn't want my son to become a police officer, not because of the reasons my parents were concerned about me becoming a police officer. My parents were concerned I might physically get harmed because that's what people were afraid of 35 years ago. I'll tell you right now, I'm afraid my son may end up in prison. Maybe I'm jaded because I run the legal defense plan and I see so many of these cases going through, but we have a police officer in the state of Washington where we've paid $4 million for his defense. He's in prison. We had an officer in Washington, D.C. who did what I thought sounded like good police work. He ended up in prison. He ended up getting pardoned by President Trump. We had an officer in Nashville, Tennessee who felt it was better for his family to take a plea and take 3 years in prison or jail, I'm not sure which, but anyways, incarcerated for 3 years. So, those are the things we have to work on, and I think that this executive board, with the stuff we've been doing legislatively, with our legislative team, with our folks in DC, and under the leadership of President Yoes, I have seen the turn. We are no longer in the George Floyd era of defund the police. We are now in the refund the police era, and I do see it changing, and I see the narrative changing under the leadership of President Yoes. But to me, that is our biggest problem. Why in the world, if you watch the 6 o'clock news, would you then want to be a police officer? It's getting better. I think we still have a long way to go. But to me, that is by far the single greatest obstacle we have in law enforcement today.
I see a lot of head shake. I see a lot of heads shaking here. Is there any more comments? Or if not, we'll move on. Okay, this is a good one. Where's Ron? Where's Pastalaya Ron? Is he here? Oh, okay. All right, so this comment came in. I echo the sentiments of brother from Nashville that this week has been a wonderful change of venue to combine all the training under one roof in Las Vegas. It's been an amazing week of learning and fellowship with our brothers and sisters from across the globe. While the opportunities for food and beverages in South Point have been amazing, the one missing piece that was not brought over from Nashville is pastelaya.
I see Ron shaking his head, so I suspect you added that.
Brother Ron LeBrere always worked really hard to make that night of home-cooked meal of pastelaya for an amazing gathering. Ron, I want to thank you for your pastelaya. I wish we could have had pastelaya. You would have had to probably cook it in the parking lot or something, right? Because, of course, you know, there's regulations in some of these fancy hotels. But is there anything you'd like to add?
No.
No?
I didn't put it, so I can't add to it.
Oh, okay, all right.
So those of you who are not familiar with this, so there's a Cajun dish called, well, you familiar with jambalaya? Well, pastelaya is jambalaya cooked with pasta. And it is on our dark deployments. Usually what we do is the first 2 days we're setting up and getting everything in place. So we're cooking hot dogs and hamburgers. And around the third day is when we start getting creative. When we do pastelaya, let me tell you, man, those lines are wrapped around everywhere you could possibly be. People hide the fact that they've already eaten 2, 3, 4 bowls so they can get more of it. So what we started doing in Leadership Matters when it was in Nashville, the hotel allowed us to cook pastelaya. It's big 30-gallon pots, and it's actually fun to watch it being cooked. And Ronell is our resident cook. And it's always amazing because you got all these guys from Oklahoma and everywhere else that say, hey, I'm going to cook pastelaya. They don't realize it's a Cajun dish, and it's not Cajun until either myself or Ronell sticks our finger in it, which makes it Cajun. So, but it's a very popular dish, and that's we don't have it here, but it does give me an opportunity to brag about our DART deployments. I know a lot of you had the opportunity to sit in DART. You know, law enforcement officers, our job is to stabilize the community, and a lot of times all we're getting is MREs and cold sandwiches because everybody forgets about us. You know, it's our job to put it back together, not once realizing that we're also victims too. And that's what our disaster response team does. So we used to, at Leadership Matters, have our DART equipment out and cook and share it with everybody to show. Ronell, thank you for doing that. Did you write that, Ronell? No. All right. I'm curious. I'd like to know who wrote it so I can determine whether Chat wrote it or all right, good deal. Well done. Well done. Appreciate you, Ron. Thank you.
And real quick, the way you can tell that pastelaya or jambalaya is actually a good Cajun dish is when you put your whole finger in and only half comes out. Pat, can you show them? That's how you know.
All joking aside, folks, This event was not an easy lift, and I think we've talked about that a little bit, but I want to encourage you, at some point during the conclusion of this, you should be getting a survey. And I tell you, each and every one of us, the instructors, the executive board, the folks that have worked to put this together, we read every single response. And the only way we can make sure that this is meaningful for you and your members year after year is if you give us valued input. Now, if you just say James Smallwood doesn't fit in his suit and he needs a bigger size, that doesn't help. But if you say,
But it's funny.
it is funny, but it's not meaningful. But if you give us clear direction about your expectations about this is for you, for us to help you continue to evolve your lodges on your level, to give you the meaningful information you need. I strongly encourage you and ask you, please complete those surveys. They are valuable to us. They help us hone our craft and make sure that this does what it's supposed to do year after year.
Yeah, I'm going to throw in real quick. I mentioned it earlier, but I would be remiss if I didn't bring this up. Pat, how long was Leadership Matters in Nashville? 25?
Probably. I would say it's probably, so it's probably 30 plus, 30, maybe even 35 years when you started in secretary treasurer's training. And then eventually recognizing we were missing a big opportunity and changing it to Leadership Matters. And that is probably a good 20 plus years.
So for the last 20
I'd like to do a wrap up on just closing words.
Yeah, that's what was next.
Nashville, where our headquarters are at. But most importantly, what I want to say here is that for all of those events, Nashville Lodge was always there. They helped with the setup. They ran the hospitality room. They were hauling stuff all week long, helping our national staff. So first and foremost, brother, I know I said it earlier, but thank you to the Nashville Lodge for all those decades of hosting us and working your asses off for us.
Yeah, funny story. When I first got involved at the national level and I was thinking about running for national office, I met Keith Turney in a hospitality room. And for about a year, Keith Turney thought I was hotel bar staff because I was pouring drinks in the hospitality room. Yeah, just to point out, the National Lodge did a phenomenal job. We appreciate everything they do.
You guys have earned the break. And last but not least, since we're getting close to wrapping up, brothers and sisters, if you have the opportunity on your way out of here today to stop by that registration desk and thank our national staff, they have busted their asses for this event. It is very hard to manage and register over 800 people throughout the week. Please stop by and just give them a quick note of thanks. They really appreciate it. It goes a long way, and they've earned it.
Wonderful. So I've got to say, I've probably moderated this portion of Leadership Matters for maybe the last 3 or 4 years. And I have to say that this one probably was the most memorable, the best, the questions that we got and the responses from our executive board were really awesome. And so we're going to ask them for one final comment before we close it out tonight. And I see Rick is also here, so maybe a closing prayer after that. Thank you so much, Mr. President.
Actually,
You're done.
it's cool. See how they turn the mic off? So I really want to kind of close up. There's a couple of things that were said here. Obviously thanking Nashville has for the years that we've done this. But I do want you to ask all of you to take some time to thank our staff. This is not an easy task. You all showed up and said this is pretty cool. This has been months, if not a year, in the works of planning, and we can't wait to see how it's going to evolve. See, the first one, things we want to do different to improve it, but really your feedback is going to be what's going to improve it. So I want to thank all of you. I have to agree, this is by far the most meaningful questions we've had over the years. This is no slight on anyone else. But I also want to thank all of you too. Look, you saw how big this room was on the first day. You saw how many people were here. I appreciate all of you coming. All right, I appreciate all of you staying. I got a lot out of this. I really appreciate this format we had here, probably more than anything we've ever done before. I want to leave you with something. I'm sitting here and I'm looking out in the audience, and I reflect back on my time in leadership of the FOP. And This is not so much for the guys that have been here for a while and been in the trenches and fighting your city councils, because I think all of you will agree 100% with what I'm telling you right now. But those of you that are new, you're a new leader trying to figure out, hey, I need to forge my path and figure out where I belong with an organization. I want to leave you with something. You know, we have a day on the hill every year. We bring in people and we go hit the hill and make it very good. It's also tangible. We get to show our members we're working Capitol Hill for them. And it's helpful to us because it gets co-sponsors. It really brings our issues in the forefront and allows us to do follow-up. But I tell them the same exact thing. There's something, and I look back at my time, there was something a little bit intimidating of talking to people when I first started about issues that are important, thinking that, hey, I'm just a cop. All right, now I'm talking to, whether I'm talking city council, I'm talking about county commissioners, I'm talking about state legislators or state senate, or even on a national level, members of Congress, leaders. There's something a little intimidating about that. And let me just tell you something right now. You can put that shit aside. One thing I've learned is that you are the subject matter expert. If anybody's intimidated, it's them. They are trying to figure things out and they have no clue what it is. And that's how vitally important it is for your voice when we do these things, so that they can hear the perspective of the rank and file officers. Because if not, they're doing it for what they think they learned on TV. Those sisters, you're the leaders here. You are the subject matter experts. You have never in your life ever had an opportunity to have more of a meaningful impact on the members of law enforcement than you do at this given time right now. Show up and stand up and speak up. I appreciate each and every one of you in your leadership that you do in your local communities and raising the quality of life for our members and our communities and the Fraternal Order of Police. Thank you.
I'm not going to stand because it's not disrespect. Pat was freaking me out. I keep thinking you're going to fall, and if I fall off this stage, somebody has a tsunami tomorrow. So, brothers and sisters, listen, you're here, and that matters. If you're here, whether you're on your board or not, you are a leader in your lodge. And I have a request, I have a favor of you. Number one, go back and share this information with people. Go back and take what you've learned here and pass it on to your members. Because the fire that ignited in you this week, and I know all of you have it now, these events are rejuvenating for us. We talk about it a lot. We talk about the grind of being on the National Executive Board and all the travel we do and balancing our full-time jobs at home with pretty much full-time jobs in the FOP. And sometimes it gets to be a grind and you start to question, like, oh man, I don't know how much longer I got of this. Coming here and spending time with you guys is always that rejuvenation. It's always that shot that we need, and it reminds us of how important this work is. So I really want to encourage you, number one, go back, share this information with your lodges, put it to work. Number two, next year, bring somebody with you. Bring somebody with you. And I'm not saying we don't want to see you back here if you want to come back, but every year, your goal should be to get somebody else from your lodge, whether they're a board member or not. Get them here. Get them to a national conference. Because I'm telling you, we all of us struggle with 5 to 10% of the people in the lodge do 90 to 100% of the work. If you want to fire up your members and you want them to get involved, get them to these events. They will see the value of the FOP, they'll see the work we're doing, and they'll want to do it. And last but not least, brothers and sisters, I hope this session and us interacting with you this week has shown you one of the beauties of the FOP that I love the most, and it's another kind of basis to why I got involved. Your national executive leadership is accessible to you anytime. All of our phone numbers are published, all of our emails are published. We're not like other organizations. We want to hear from you. We work for you. You tell us what to do. It's not the other way around. So if you need anything, you have questions, if there's anything we can do to help, if you're having an event at your lodge or your state and you think it would be helpful or your members would love to have us there, let us know. If we can possibly get one of us there, it's rare that we can all go to the same event at once, but one of us can usually carve it out of our schedules. We'd love to come interact with you and your members. And last but not least, I love you. I love you guys, and I have no problem saying that. I love this order, I love this organization, I'll do anything for you. God bless you, and thank you for allowing us the opportunity and the privilege and the honor to serve you from these seats. Thank you.
You know, this entire program centered around leadership. And good questions were asked about leadership. Well, from where we're sitting, we're looking at leadership. We learn from each and every one of you. The networking opportunities that we have in the hallway after our classes, the ability to understand problems and take your advice and suggestions to then implement them on a nationwide basis. So we do appreciate all of your input, your feedback, your direction, and your leadership that you give us. So thank you, thank you. Keith, you did a great job before the program started this morning. And quite frankly, I was apprehensive about us moving it out of Nashville for a couple of reasons. I'm saddened that I'm not able to show off your national headquarters to you and do tours. But like I told Keith, I said, you know, this was absolutely amazing. The venue was wonderful. We weren't all crunched up like a bunch of sardines as we've done in the past because frankly, we outgrew Nashville. The food was fabulous. The staff has been wonderful. So, and the attendance was just remarkable. So, thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to leave you with there was several questions reference to legislative matters, various communications. Take a pen and a pencil in front of you. Write down FOP Connect, CONNECT.com, FOPconnect.com. If you haven't already done so, please share that with all of your members. You will be able to get the journal, the monthly journal. You will also get press releases coming from President Yoes. You'll be able to also sign up for Washington Watch. It's the weekly publication anytime Congress is in session for legislative updates and a lot of other information. One other opportunity for you also is the NFOP app. It's free. Just simply go to the Apple Store or Google Play, download the app, and you'll get almost well, there's updates that come almost immediately. Anything coming out. So I encourage you also, if your local lodge or state lodge wants to participate with that app and have it specific to your local lodge or state lodge, shoot me an email. I can connect you with Clouder. I think it's $600 a year, which you can piggyback over what the Nationals contract is. So with that, thank you so much. God bless you. Be safe going home. Happy Easter, and look forward to seeing you soon.
So one of the pitfalls of being on this side of the chairs is after 3 or 4 board members have spoken, there's nothing left to say.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I will echo the sentiments of my brothers up here and say thank you. And it'll be a variation on the theme. As a local lodge president for 10 years, I know the dedication, commitment, and frustration that comes along with leading from a local or state perspective. And certainly I get it as a national lodge member. So I thank you for stepping up and representing the brothers and sisters on the streets who need us the most. And I want to remind you, or at least encourage you, to never once think that the work that you're doing doesn't matter. Think about it like this. Every single day there's somebody that picks up the phone and calls for a law enforcement officer to come running and help them solve their crisis. And the other side of that phone is a law enforcement officer who's depending on you to stand up for them when they need them the most, and defend their rights and protect them so that they can continue to make the world a better place. The work that you do absolutely makes a difference. It matters. It makes our organization better. It makes our profession better. And it makes the world a better place. So thank you for what you do. Please keep doing what you're doing. As Brother Price said, we are all accessible at all times. Please don't ever hesitate to reach out if we can help you. Thank you.
We probably should have gone the other way so that President Yoes could close this out. But I will start by saying, President Yoes, we wouldn't be here right now without your vision to bring all this training under one roof. And I think even Brother Holyfield, a little bit of apprehension, a lot of us had it. And we followed your lead, sir, and I'm really glad we did. This, I think, has been phenomenal, and your vision, once again, has taken this organization to a new level. So I want to start by thanking you, sir, for your vision to make this happen. I've already said it, but can never say thank you too much. Brother Turney, thank you for executing on that vision. To our staff, unbelievable. And then I just want to say a personal thank you to each of you. This piggybacks off what James just said, but thank you for caring enough about our brothers and sisters out there to give up your time to come here. We might have fun, we might have cocktails, some good meals, but you're giving up your time to be here to learn more so that you can do more for our brothers and sisters out there. So I want to say thank you to that. And the last thank you I'm going to give you is thank you for giving me the opportunity to work with this executive board. I've been on a lot of boards. I've been president of boards. I've been all kinds of different positions on different boards. Take the titles aside, I've never been on a board that's worked harder for the membership that it serves than this executive board right here. So thank you for giving me the privilege to serve you and work with these gentlemen here. I wish you all safe travels home, happy Easter, and I look forward to this closing prayer.
All right, if we could all rise and put a hand on the shoulder of our brother or sister next to us and just join together in prayer. Father God, we thank you for the chance to be able to come together and just to really join together and turn our hearts towards you. We invited you into this conference at the very beginning, and you have shown up throughout the entire week. Your word tells us that your word is a lamp to our feet and a light to our path, and we just pray that you light our path on this pathway to excellence, and in it all you get all the thanks and all the honor and all the glory. I bless those within the sound of my voice. May you bless them with your peace as they return home to make peace. And just keep us all safe. We thank you and honor you. We pray in the name which was and is to come, Christ Jesus. Amen.